on. I couldn't do hot tub last night because there were children in the room. Anyway, hello everybody. Welcome to Table Talk. We have great topics for you today, and I want to add on to that first or second topic, the second topic about the boys getting stopped in Nordstrom's, but it's more than that. You know, we're doing so many things while black these days. Let's have our panelists introduce themselves.
Good morning, Chris Summerall, entrepreneur and public servant for Metro.
How do you serve the public now?
I still direct a nonprofit in the city. And,
I
For
know.
the last 5 years, you've been out.
Yeah.
7 years, maybe.
Yeah, he does. He's a good guy.
Daryl Buchanan, community activist.
AJ Williams, editor of the Michigan Chronicle City Lifestyle and Single Black Chick.
Yes, she's been jamming on that too. She has been jamming on that. I love your, oh wow. It is, and you're celebrating mothers and all of that.
We did that with
I
the
was going to
Chronicle,
do
yes.
this show on mothers, but maybe we'll get to it by the end. Maybe we'll get to it. But we have a lot to talk about this week. The first topic is, that's the one I put in. It's about Cynthia Nixon. She's running for governor of New York.
Yeah.
Cynthia Nixon used to be on Sex and the City. I don't know, that was a big hit, but I never liked it.
Oh my God. I modeled somewhat of Single Black Chick after.
Well, I just never, no, I'll tell you
Sex and the
why
City.
I never liked it. Because I didn't like her character.
Oh, you didn't like her? Okay.
Specifically, because I wasn't convinced. I mean, I don't know.
What do you mean you wasn't convinced?
I just thought that her chemistry wasn't right with the men in her life, and now I know why. But no, it's just like Queen Latifah. She was never, the chemistry with her and Common or something like that, it wasn't authentic, because, it just wasn't. But neither here nor there. She said that legalizing marijuana was a way of reparations for the black community. What is that about?
That's
My
just
phone.
Insanity. That's just insanity. Do you even think, first of all, that just takes away, all of the horror that happened in slavery, and now we're going to be repaid for, free labor for, hundreds of years. It's embarrassing to our ancestors.
To say that drugs are the
Drugs.
thing.
Drugs. That's how we're going to get paid back with drugs. Nothing about education, nothing about health care, nothing about housing or, economic equity. We're going to talk about selling drugs. That's embarrassing.
So I'm going to be a little bit anti today with this because I'm a very big supporter of legalizing marijuana.
Well, I'm a supporter of it, too.
I'm a supporter
I'm
of
a
that.
pioneer in the field. But anyway, no, I was a child
I'm
of
a
the
supporter
60s.
of it. I don't. Her statement was very insensitive. I do agree with that, but I agree with that from a perspective that I feel that I have a big thing with white women and white privilege. So there are certain things that I feel is family business that you shouldn't really put your statement in. You really don't have a statement or a reasoning to be the poster child of trying to advocate as a white privileged actress in New York to try to advocate for reparations. However, I do support what she's saying from a perspective because I don't look at marijuana as selling drugs. I think that's the negativity that's behind it, considering the fact that marijuana, if you look in Denver, if you look in not California, if you look at just a lot of different states that are coming up, I do feel like people, neighborhoods, us that were put at a perspective of being targeted and being held in, jail and things like that for things as simple as marijuana should be given. I think the black community should be given an advantage of licensing and being able from a business economic perspective. I do feel like because it's going to boom, and I feel like black people should be ahead of it. It should not be considered reparations, but we should be given an opportunity.
Right. No, I understand. I agree with what you say for the most part, But, you know, marijuana has been around a long time, and it wasn't just us using it, so forth and so on. I just think that for her to use that particular thought about, is that the first thing that comes off your head when you think about black people?
No, I think, but see, that's the thing. I think, and I've had a conversation, I think it's a generational thing. It's just me personally. I've had a conversation with a coworker of mine where she wants to get into the marijuana business. However, she's like, oh my goodness, I couldn't let people know because, you know, it's dope. And I was like, but it's not. If it's going to be a legalized business, just like alcohol is, you should be out here to be able. So yes, black people should be at the front of the line, have a seat at the table for the business
understand
perspective
that,
of it.
but all I'm trying to
In the
tell you,
context of
no, I
reparations.
understand.
I just don't think it should be referenced as reparations.
That's where I'm coming from, and that's where I don't want you. I'm trying to talk to you about, because I do believe, and I know people who are, they have their medical cards, and they're always. In fact, I get my hair done next to the house of
Thank.
No, it's somebody
It's a lot of different
put
houses.
on Facebook that it was the house that was the best place in the city.
Okay.
But my hair gets done right next door
No
to
Reggies, no Reggies.
it. No, but it's the thing. The thing is, reparations can be entitlements. They could be things that we need as a community, like Daryl said, education and so forth. What are you going to do?
Well, the word reparation is so delicate with regard to the black community. And so it's not just, although it encompasses a monetary component, there's emotional damage, there's structural, there's entitlement, there's a lot there. So to just tag and say, well, the marijuana industry can be the portal toward reparations is very shallow. And like you said, it wasn't appropriate, especially for her. You know, if she wants to champion something, great. But she is not the forerunner. She shouldn't be the voice. She shouldn't be the pace setter, or the person who defines really what reparations should look, feel, or kind of be like for the black community. I do appreciate her having the idea of reparation on her mind. Because for many people, a lot of people in this country, it's like, get over it, you know, whereas other communities have had federal aid programs that even now are still benefiting years and years and years down the line, whereas black folks, we haven't had any of that. So I think that, she would be a type of person that I would want to have a conversation with. I think I would just have to lead the conversation.
I just thought about, is that the first thing you think about that would help us as a people? That's all I'm saying. I think we need, what about poverty?
Well, this is a way. This
I
is a
know,
financial
but
way.
everybody doesn't want to do that. There are people who have been associated with marijuana, with people selling marijuana who have lost their lives over marijuana. And because someone I know, a former student of mine, happened to go over to this house. She and her fiance, and somebody came in and killed all 5 people in the house. I had friends I went to college with who were killed. I mean, they were killed.
Well,
I mean,
and let's look at how many.
And it wasn't over heroin.
Right.
It wasn't.
Let's look at how many black men or black people are incarcerated right now.
And
I
so
mean,
that's what we
and-
got to talk about, the criminal justice system.
Right.
You brought that up, and that's what I was thinking about.
Well, I mean, once again, I think it's a very rippled effect. I agree with what Chris said. She's not, the big thing is you can't speak on things when you're not a part of
You
being
don't
able
know
to give
about
an empathetic perspective on it. She's not the poster child for it. I think the reason that she used it is because it's a part of her platform in general for legalizing marijuana. That's a part of her campaign. I think it was just very much, it wasn't thought out.
Yeah.
I don't think it was, because from the perspective of what you just said about the legal system, she addressed that. She said that those neighborhoods that were targeted, I had a cousin that went to jail because possession of marijuana.
Which is crazy.
And that's kind of the point. It's like these people or the neighborhoods that have been affected by this, where in a very real perspective, should not have these type of levies placed on them. Let's give them the first opportunity to kind of have some form of, we know we put this on you, let's give you a financial means to be able to make some type of recommends for it. Reparations, no.
Yeah.
But
You know,
the financial perspective.
Jasmine put together some questions, and one of them was, what would that kind of reparation look like? What do you think it would look like? Let's go in a different world.
So what I would say is, what does reparations look like for other folks? Because there has been reparations, there has been an
Oh,
atonement
for the Japanese?
for the Japanese, for the Jewish community. You know, for many countries that the United States have levied unjust wars or even justified war. So what did that look like? At the end of the day, it does boil down to some type of economic, you know, tool or money. It's money, and so you know, and while I agree, it encompasses much more than that. In the words of Martin Luther King, we want to come get our check, and so you know, the programs and all of that is great, but if the system is still corrupt and you don't have funding, right? If you don't have money, then you're still at a disadvantage. And so I think that it encompasses the educational component, but most importantly, it has to encompass some type of economic, some type of economic boost to the community that has been, you know, held back because of slavery.
That's even the perspective of, if you go to court, there's a thing of monetary payment for pain and suffering. There's no way, there is nothing that I feel that and this is just my personal statement, that I feel that the United States can do that will ever cover the pain
Absolutely.
of what has happened. So we're beyond, you're never going to be able to pay me enough. You're never going to be able to talk about all the years of enduring just slavery itself and the repercussions in the years and the generations
the
after.
Still PTSD.
Yeah, the generations that's going on after. But there is a point of
I understand.
monetary pain and suffering. So
Yes.
I totally agree with you.
But and let me say this though. This might ruffle some feathers. I think that it's a waste of a conversation. I do. I think to continue to ask a system that obviously is obstinate toward the black community for something that
And it's getting worse.
for something that they're defiant for. I think that it's a waste of time, energy, and effort. I think that it's high time for us to, focus on just building our own, circling the wagons around our own community because the check ain't coming. And even if
That's
it does, it's going to be a slap in the face, right? So we
It
got to
can never be enough.
First of all, it'll never happen because every other community, every other group of people that have been slighted, that have been killed, murdered, they've been made whole way sooner, right?
And they were after us.
And it's not even that they're made whole, but there was an attempt to make it an amends, right? It was just, I think it was less than 20 years ago that Congress actually apologized for it, right? So to think now that some check is coming or there's going to be some incentive, it's not happening. So,
And even the conversation now is, everything against it. They want to tell you, oh, that was a long time ago, get over it. There are no slaves that are alive now.
You weren't a slave.
Yeah, you weren't a slave. But what they don't understand, we don't have to go back that far. We only have to go back to, when they were building the suburbs, around major cities, and how blacks were prohibited from, black veterans returning from World War II were not allowed to get VA benefits that built up not just built up the suburbs, but they also built up the generational wealth that so many of these people that are saying to us now that, oh, you need to get over yourself. You need to, you need to do like we did. We couldn't do like you did because our parents couldn't buy homes that, started to, build in equity. And then that's what they sent their kids to college with. This is how, they passed that house down. Generational wealth. That we were, our ancestors, and we're not talking about 150, 200 years ago. We're talking about in the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
You know what I always thought was interesting? It's a show called Antiques Roadshow.
Yes.
Do you notice they ain't never no black people on there? Why? Because we didn't have nothing, right? There was nothing to pass on from
Good point.
1850, 1860. It's always some European-faced folks who got, well, this clock, you know how much it worth? I don't know. I got it from my great-grandma. What did we get? They didn't have anything. They were just
We was
struggling
building
just
nothing
for them to
it
get
by.
the clock.
Make it by. Antique Roadshow is a constant reminder of what the legacy or what the journey has been for black people in this country. And so if they think that it doesn't, and those people are still profiting because now they say, oh, this little table appraised for $12,000 that you got from your great grandma. So it shows that there's a direct line of wealth, of legacy from great grandma, great great grandma down to today. And they're still benefiting from it, and we're still suffering from the slavery that our ancestors and forefathers.
Well, I do know this. I had baseball cards when I was little. I had Mickey Mantle. I had all these people.
Satchel Paige.
I was just,
He didn't have one.
no, he didn't have one, Chris. But here's the point I'm just trying to make. Did we know the value of those things? Because I had them, I collected them, I kept rubber band around them, and my mother cleaning up my room threw my stuff away. I'd be sitting back comfortable if I had those baseball cards right now. But what I'm saying, we did not know the value of things. Just case in point, real case in point. My mother's from South Carolina. I was born down there, but I was born on vacation. That's another story. But I said, Mother, what about voting? And she said, we didn't know anything about voting. It was like people were in office in the town. It was white people. They were in office. They did not tell the black people about voting. Nothing like that. The disenfranchisement that we have suffered as a people.
I saw a video on Facebook, not to interrupt you,
That's okay.
where less than 40 years ago, there were still slaves.
My grandmother was a sharecropper. My
Listen,
grandmother just
Not a sharecropper, but,
passed in 2012.
but my great grandmother was a share, but slaves, and it was in New Orleans. It's a documentary. I'll try to think of the name of it. But these people were in a remote community, and they were unplugged from society, and so if they tried to leave, they were killed. And this was in the 60s. Slaves, modern day slaves. Now, albeit that that's a rare occasion, it shows you that this is something that is still fresh. This wound is still gaping. This is not a wound that has been healed and you don't even know it existed. This is a fresh wound in the United States history.
And it's not even a wound, kind of going into your other subject. It's something that's still, it's a wound, but it's also something that's still being played out.
It's still permeated down through these times because I do want to get to that other. I do want to get to that other topic. But yeah, this is something to think about. I just think that in many ways people are trying to count out the African American community in the government, in so many things, because, all right, with our next one, we were talking about, and this was just a metaphor to me. It's just the young men who were targeted in Nordstrom's rack. They had gone in there for to get prom stuff. But I'm looking at all those other things. I brought it up with a guest. I'm looking at all the other things people, the young lady at Harvard or Yale who was sleeping. And the girl called the police on her because she was sleeping in a lounge.
It's called Insert While Black.
Yes.
Sleeping while black.
Golfing
drinking coffee
while black.
Standing while black. Driving while black.
Checking out of a Airbnb while black.
Yeah.
Right.
And then to be accused of, not smiling and waving at the neighbors, and that's why the neighbors called the police when they were checking out. It was like they didn't have the right attitude. And that's actually what the owner of the house, of the establishment that they were leaving, said, well, they just didn't have the right attitude. And so that's why the neighbors called the police. Excuse me? What attitude do you need to have?
Well, and that is a consistent attitude by the overwhelming majority of white folks in this country that other races owe them something.
Yeah, like we're
That
supposed to defer.
To talk like this, walk like this, that we don't owe you nothing. We don't owe you anything. If anything, you owe us something. And so it's a constant reminder. I can remember being a senior in high school. I actually graduated. I left in high school and went to Tennessee. And I was at a mall down in Davidson County. There's a city called Brentwood, really wealthy city. I went to the mall and I bought a boom box. I'm coming down in Sears, I bought it, and I'm coming down to Sears. Their loss prevention meets me at the bottom of the escalator. I got it. I don't even have a bag. It wouldn't fit in the bag. I'm carrying a box. Man, them people were ready to jump on me. Senior in high school. Now, this is a affluent white community or whatever.
Right.
But this is a part of every black person's story. We all can,
Absolutely.
like, there's no, it doesn't change. We can go on a line and we can randomly pull people off the street. And that's what individuals don't understand. This is our life.
Absolutely.
So, but again, I think that our focus, should be on each other, not on them, because it ain't coming. It ain't happening.
I mean, but still, they
still have to
wield the
hold them
power.
accountable. Yeah.
They still wield the power. So your police force, your criminal justice system, which we're all going to be impacted by. They're still running that, and so, we do have to focus on ourselves. I agree with you wholeheartedly, because I've said this before, and people think I'm crazy when I say it, but I think we did better before integration. We had to do better before integration.
I've been on your supporting of that. Yeah.
Because we had to rely upon one another. We had black grocery stores, black pharmacies. I mean, everything.
And they saw that.
So,
and
right.
They wanted to break that up.
And so, built their escape route to Oakland County.
But we have
right
to own
now,
some of the
I-75.
responsibility of that too.
Absolutely.
Because the white man's ice is colder.
Brother,
Well,
And
no,
to many people,
Well-
the white man's ice is colder.
Oh, my God.
His lawnmower cuts grass better. And so there is, but now let me say this. It is part of the psychological warfare that we have endured over years, right? But we undergird it sometimes, and we don't do ourselves any service on both sides. Sometimes with poor service, sometimes with preconceived notion, right? So either way, you have to first change your mind before you can change the world.
So, and Brenda, you remember this. When we were in Southfield, when I was on the board, I had an organized group of parents come after me because I walked into the secretary, the board secretary's office, and she had a stack of applications. I'm like, what is that? And it was kids that were leaving middle school to go to other high schools, outside of Southfield. So it's like, wait a minute, we've done this great job taking these kids from the primary grades to the 8th grade. Well, they said you didn't have enough rigor. So we addressed that. We started putting more things, in place. These parents were upset because we stopped signing releases to send Southfield money to our neighboring community. I don't want to get all into that again.
Correct.
But it was that very point, that brought that up to me was when you said the white man's ice is colder. They thought that just because their kids were going to go to school, in this community, that they were going to do better, not realizing the fact that you're putting your child in a more hostile environment. And the other thing is that they don't understand really how the grading of schools work, where your test scores are low. My test scores may be low compared to the neighboring communities, but even in those situations, they're not looking at the makeup of those communities, where you had more Asians that went to school there, okay? So when you look at, Southfield Public Schools, black students, in every community, black students are, a segment of the population. When you compare our numbers to what the black students in Birmingham, in Troy, in wherever, in Bloomfield, our students outscored them. So we didn't outscore the majority, but we outscored all the black kids.
But it's still, and we've talked about this before on other table talks. It's still a perspective. I agree with you both. What we should have done, what was supposed to happen was we were able to go wherever we wanted to go. We can be and we can commingle, but we still are taking our monies at home. It's a very generational perspective of my parents, my grandmother, her. It's okay. Success is we can get out of here now.
Right.
And I say that very much when we talk about
Interesting, yeah.
Detroit and all of the things that are happening now in Detroit. Even to the point, Brenda will appreciate this. I wrote a poem called Detroit. I used to love her. And a big part of it was I was holding us accountable that we thought success was, I'm serious, the goal when I got out of Persian, I went to DPS, East Side, Persian, it was to get up out. Like, we gonna go to college and you're not coming back to Detroit. That was ingrained not just in my household, but also in a perspective of school. It was like Detroit was never viewed as a place of, I'm gonna come back and build in. I'm gonna go out, because what you said, outside, being able to go to someplace in Birmingham and shop is your definition of success. If you still stand in Detroit, you're not successful, versus building a mindset of unity and community of, we're gonna take our assets and we're gonna build it from within. Now we complaining because a lot of people done came in. Well,
Right.
we never held together before.
I just
to
want to
keep it.
piggyback on that, because so many of these properties were available cheap 20 years ago. 20, even if you just started paying on it little by little.
10 years ago.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, no, what I'm thinking, the reason why I'm thinking 20, I knew people who were trying to get buildings on cash, and they were already bought. They were yes, they were already bought. And now people, and one of the people who bought it, he was talking to me because, they're doing the new Jim Brady's down there. And he told me about that. He said, oh, we've been sitting on that property for years.
But that's a part of it. That's a part of being able to, being able to come together. The one thing that I will say, and I've had a friend of mine, we've debated about it. The one thing that I will give white people from a perspective is they have partnership down pat. They don't have to like each other. They don't have to it's never a crab in a bucket situation. They're going to I know people that have partnered up to hold on to property, but we don't have that type of mindset of, I'm going to get with you, you're going to get together, we're going to all equally invest, we're going to create our own financial company, and we're going to hold on to these properties for a long vision. We're always chasing the right rabbit. We're never coming from
But
behind.
I'm a real estate investor, Brenda. You know that.
Yeah.
And
You
but
didn't
there-
give me none. But anyway.
but there's a misnomer, right? What we're seeing in Detroit is subsidized. It's subsidized, even if it appear private, right? We look at Dan Gilbert. He pouring a lot of money into the city. No, he's not. He getting all that money right back. So this is the thing. It's while, and I'm just playing devil's advocate because I agree 100%. But this is the game is this. They're building up the city and say, well, y'all had the chance. No, we didn't, because all this money now is subsidized. They got all of these initiatives. Well, if you got this property, you got $300,000 to improve the facade of the building. What? Wait a minute. Like, that wasn't there for us. And it was a mind that was a timer that a group of people in the room said, now.
Oh no, I totally support that. We did a story on the whole thing for Motor City Match, and we talked about Hatch, Motor City Match. We went down all these initiatives and the proportion of white businesses that were approved for these grants versus black businesses. Now this year, Motor City Match has upped the ante, but here's what I'm saying: at some point, the majority. If we had, it's a mindset. It's a perspective. We didn't do that because we didn't know. Correct. And that goes all the way back to the perspective of slavery, integration, this whole systematic thought pattern that and that's what I like to call, we're chasing the white rabbit. We're always one step behind because we're not given those opportunities. And now that we're in this playing field versus things like you said, it's simple things. Little baby steps can add to a very big perspective of being able to support black businesses. You know how I talk about going to black businesses on Fridays. Little things will add it up, and having conversations of being like, yo, we didn't know. Now what are we going to do?
We have Tom on the line. He has perspective on it. Good morning.
Good morning, Brenda. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and good morning to your co-pilot.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tom.
Earlier in the conversation, the young lady was talking about, going away to college, and I guess the grandmother or whoever was saying you're going to get educated and not come back to Detroit. Daniel Howells in today's Detroit News wrote an article that says Howells, who believes in Detroit's revival? Detroiters. And you know what, Brenda, I am the eternal optimist. I've been in this city since 1953. I've seen Detroit go from the good to the bad to what she is right now. And that's not real pretty, but she's getting prettier by the day in terms of the way things have turned around. Because when I came here in the city with my parents in 1953 at the age of 6, Detroit was almost 1,800,000 people.
Right.
We've lost 1,120,000 people, being a 680,000 populated city today. But, in terms of the development, things are now starting to reach the neighborhood. The other day, there was an announcement, $130 million slated for, I think it's 7 areas of the city where they're going to fix up commercial strips, do
Yeah,
some new
I
housing,
saw that.
even restore some housing. So ever so slowly, it's going to happen. But in terms of development, the wow appeal here in the neighborhood, we're not going to get the kind of wow appeal here in the neighborhood that they got downtown.
No, but I think it'll help the community as far as the values of their home. And,
Oh, for sure.
I had a realtor on today said that's one of our biggest assets and things of that nature. But we have another call.
Okay.
Tom, that's a great perspective. People are calling in. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, but check Daniel House out today
And,
in Detroit.
I certainly will.
right, I will check that out and tell your wife Happy Mother's Day.
And happy Mother's Day to you. And if the young lady has a child or two, or
No!
happy Mother's Day to her too. And
Thank
also
you.
the ladies in the listening audience.
Okay,
Happy Mother's
thank
Day.
you, Tom.
Okay, bye.
Good morning. Hello? Oh, she's going to call back.
You know what's interesting? Like, when you travel to other cities, the downtown is cool, but it's not really
It's
what's
nothing
up. It's not really what's
compared
up. Like,
to-
you hang out, you go to Chicago, you're hanging out in Hyde Park, and so that's our opportunity, right? There are certain corridors that I'm investing in right now that are very strategic. A year ago, me and myself and 13 other individuals, black men and women, formed an investment group. We bought properties, rehabbed them, sold them, and we're moving on. These are the type of things that, when I say not looking outside, right? And the truth of the matter is, none of us had to do it with each other. Like, we're all perfectly able, but because our community needs to see, right? They need to see
Right.
groups of black folks reinvested. They need to see doing quality work, putting out a quality product. And
Right.
so
Right.
we're training our minds. We're retraining our minds into what the expectation from our community looks like.
Right. Yes, but what has happened, and I've seen it happen, people get together with these lofty ideas, and then it starts to be a power struggle. Or somebody says, well, so-and-so isn't doing what he said. It starts, yours is successful, and it
It's
creates,
had its challenges.
well, but everything has its challenges.
Yeah.
But, okay, we have a
Negroes get
call.
on my nerves.
I know. But hello, good morning. Good morning.
morning.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I want to speak on about the price of the property. I remember it must have been in the late 80s and early 90s. People of Detroit were being encouraged to buy property downtown and in other areas. And there was a guy, I remember hearing on one of the talk stations, and he had a group of people that would come together, and they would purchase property. And then I guess they would, fix it up and resell it. So there were blacks that was aware of, buying property back then when it was much cheaper and easier for, for blacks to get. So it wasn't that some of us didn't know, we just didn't take advantage of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And here's another thing that happened to the neighborhoods before I let you go because we have another call. is the fact that sometimes grandparents died, had nice homes. Some of the younger people moved in. I'm not saying all younger people. And then there were certain neighborhoods where people stopped taking care of things. They forgot to care about the communities and they went down. The housing values went down. We cannot blame everything on somebody who
Right.
was out of the community.
If anybody really wants to take what you just said to heart, go over to Windsor, Canada, and ride through the neighborhoods in Windsor. Because Windsor, think about it, the same architects designed the homes on both sides of the river. You can look at the houses, over in Windsor, and some of the apartment buildings and everything. They look just like the ones that, were in Detroit, but they're more pristine.
Somebody took care of
They
them.
took care of them, and that's to your point. We're
Well,
not taking care
we
of our
we have
neighborhoods.
The
a
story happened in Windsor too. It's a whole different
Culture.
experience. Windsor did not. It's like if we have the same outfit on in the morning and somebody come ride and a puddle of mud and splash it on me and say, well, "Hey man, we had the same outfit on in the morning. Why you looking dirty?" Like it's a reason why Detroit looks, and it's not because of black people. We have our role in it. But I'm not impressed with Dan Gilbert. I'm not impressed because they can buy the property and then move 10,000 people to work downtown, thus undergirding their real estate investment.
Absolutely.
Y'all can live here. Now we're gonna give y'all. incentive
Well,
to live
I heard something else about what's happening down there. We have a call. I mean, oh, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
I was just wanted to say that my grandmother, she talked to me. She told me back in the day that blacks could not have the privilege to own 1, 2, 3, or 4 properties because the banks wouldn't give them loans.
Right.
Now, when Ford Motor Company came in, that's when everything started to change, as in them somewhat of economic growth. But now it seems like it's going around in the circle, and the cycle is repeating itself because I know a lot of people that want to invest in the neighborhoods and invest and get properties that are black that are getting rejected for these loans and also for any kind of opportunity.
What kind of
business
explanation for the rejections? Do you have an explanation? Have they been explained why they were rejected? Because you have to find out why.
I have to find out why.
I know why.
I mean, it's just it's several different people.
The reason why they're
I'm going to say this: by the city having so much money in that the neighborhood and the property value, but I go down 6 miles, 7 miles, 8 miles to downtown, and how downtown got gutted out from black businesses. And I would say on Livernois as well. It's a few businesses that have been there for a long time that are now getting shut down. But why? That's a historical area. They want the area. We're not the ones that's getting the property in these historical areas either. They're coming in and they got their finger on, okay, what area do I want? While the value is down, so I can basically, get the,
Isn't that called
raise
speculation?
it up and profit off of it.
Right. And I think it's even deeper than that.
So what happens is when, as an investor, you want to go and invest in, let's say, disenfranchised areas, right? You're not going to get traditional financing.
I want to tell her, thank you for your call.
You're not going to get traditional financing because the property acts as a guarantee for the loan. And these properties need a tremendous amount of rehab. So there's not a lot of appraised value there initially. At post-appraisal, possibly, right? But that's even still projected. So what has to happen is people have to leverage private money, whether it's a group, their friends, or there's other ways to access cash, or just save up your money, right? It's possible. Like I always said, if you're broke in Detroit, something is wrong with you, because literally you can just say, I'm gonna buy a house for $1,500. It's gonna be terrible, and I'm gonna take 2 years to fix it up, just as slow as ever. After that, you have a house that's worth $30,000 that'll give you $750 a month for the rest of your life, right? But it takes the ability to see that. It takes the ability to be around individuals. I'm fortunate. My grandfather, I used to ride around with him when he'd collect his rent in apartment buildings, and it was something like, man, I like how everybody called him Mr. Sankey.
Yeah.
This and that. He had a big Cadillac or whatever. My parents' generation, it never got to them. But then when it got to me, I was interested in it. And so, but there are creative ways to access money. We just have to talk amongst each other. The thing about it is that you're not my competition. We are partners, potential. But we view each other in our community.
I just said that.
I
With the
can't tell.
partnership.
I can't tell you, because then you gonna eat what's
Grab
left
to
of
the
me.
bucket.
The opportunity in Detroit is like an ocean. The problem is some people just go to the ocean with a teaspoon. They mind ain't right.
Or they
Let
don't
me-
see the whole pie, just a little sliver.
Let me ask this, not to, because we went off on real estate. I just wanted to ask, back to the subject of Nordstrom's, what do you guys think that it was handled well by Nordstrom's?
Absolutely not.
No, I mean, if you've ever been stopped,
I'm
like,
saying Nordstrom's as far as the company in itself.
Right.
I guess my thing is, as
didn't
far,
they say he apologized?
he said that he's flying in to
flying
apologize
in
to
to
them
apologize,
personally.
but still, so much damage is done when you're falsely accused. It's just, you're saying, what do I look like?
Well, let me ask you this, and I'm going to be the devil's advocate on this, kind of back to the whole thing with the Starbucks thing. At a point, I'm being a person who had employees under her, and I'm not saying from my own business, but just, from a management perspective, there's a directive, there is training, there is things, and you've taught and you've executed. And sometimes people just do their own things. At what point is the company separate from the employees? I mean, taking responsibility and but it was that employees or those stores' employees. And I've went to Nordstrom's Rack in Troy before, and I've never had a problem. So at what point are we holding, because according to the young men, they commended the police on how they handled it. They arrived, they said, okay, it wasn't an issue, and they left. But at what point is it a perspective that we're holding companies, definitely an apology, and what's the difference? I can't be, you see what I'm saying? I can't be responsible for every one of my employees on their own perspective.
But, the buck stops with the boss.
Yes.
And management and all of this, there's certain things you need to do with your employees before they even start working.
But if I do that, I said I
They do
did that.
And then
They don't. People
and
still
then
have.
if they don't, you have to let them go.
still-
Okay, so if Nordstrom's fires that person,
They still responsible.
I'm not saying they're not responsible. What I'm saying is, what's a right cause? Like, so we just gone, like, we're done with Nordstrom's.
The right cause is
What's the right response?
other employees are going to see what happened to that person,
Okay.
and that's going to change their
But
behavior.
when
So
you
then
say,
here's my-
are you
here's my
saying
point with
that
that.
the people, you mean the customers should start?
This is what I'm saying. I had a very big debate about the whole thing with Starbucks, because I was like, I appreciated how Starbucks handled the situation. I was like, they apologized. They shut down all their stores for one day for racial training, and the people got fired. At what point, I didn't make this person do this or act this way.
Right.
I am holding myself accountable. Where's your court of blood?
You know
When
why
does it stop?
you know why it doesn't feel like it still feels like we're getting the short end of the stick? It's because no matter what, we get judged for other black folks. Like there's I don't commit crime. No, wait a minute. I don't commit crime. So why do I get this suspicious? We want to give them the benefit.
How
of the
many
doubt.
times
We're
have-
saying, well, they did everything they can.
Chris, how many times haven't we seen something or heard about something, we say, oh, God, I hope they're not black.
Well, we see that all. Listen, but this is the
Yeah.
thing. Again, you have to understand the media. The media is going to push all that
All-
black stuff up to the front.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, they got to make the first move, man. You want us to give you the benefit of the doubt. You try. Okay. Well, then you ain't giving us the benefit of the doubt. saying, well, this black kid that you choking up at Waffle House, he's in prom, taking his sister to prom. But you want us as a community, that's the problem. Black folks is always like, well, let's just accept they ain't accepting nothing from us.
I'm not saying that.
Okay.
So let's clarify. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that they
You're
should not be.
asking what should happen.
I'm asking what should happen. You have employees?
Yes.
Okay, so if you train your employees to proceed a certain way, and that employee, despite your training, despite their own personal views in regards to whatever you said, that specific, being a person that has been targeted, I've been in stores where I have been targeted as far as, oh, this black girl, or even that I can't afford what I'm in here and I'm on the south side of Somerset. I get that, but I'm not holding that because that's that person's perspective of me. That's not, I guess that's my perspective. So I'm not saying that the company is not responsible. My question when I started was, what is the correct response? And
Fire them.
okay, so
Get
if
'em
they
out.
fire them, and then what?
Okay. The other employees will take note, and if you like your job, you're
You
not going to
won't-
behave that way.
Right, but here's my thing. That has happened, and it's still not enough.
So this is
But
this
not
is,
in
this is-
every
Well,
organization.
it's the
Not in
climate
not
of
in
this.
everyone.
It
It's the
won't happen
climate
at
of this
Starbucks
country.
again.
This is what
No, it
this
won't.
is what it kind of boils down to me. I remember I had hurt a girl's feelings, and I was sorry. I apologized. It was a mistake. I apologized. I did everything. She wasn't enough.
You have to make retribution.
But my thing is, you can't tell the person, well, I did enough. I couldn't tell her, well, what else you want from me? That would have been insensitive, right? That would have been insensitive. It was my job to just wait till she was ready.
But
You
then
know
if
what I'm
they
saying?
wait, then we.
Well, what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, you can't. They can't do enough.
Okay.
They cannot do enough.
Okay.
They can't fix it.
Okay.
But as a business
Then that's
owner,
the answer.
as a business owner, when I get that check, I gotta also understand the other stuff that come with it. So having those rogue employees, because these are billion-dollar corporations.
I agree.
So when you get those billions of dollars, you gotta know other stuff come with it. You gotta be
I agree.
responsible for idiots' decisions.
I
That's
agree.
just the game. Now, if you don't want to be responsible, get a job like
I'm not
that.
saying that they're not responsible.
Excuse
Please, let's not, because I don't want to go
Let-
on the record. I'm not saying they're not responsible. I'm saying at what level of response or actions or redemption or retributions do they have to make it appease that I addressed
I
your
like what
concern and I'm
Starbucks
going
did.
to do better.
I like what Starbucks did.
Okay.
I think that was an anomaly. I don't think we have. I can't recall
That's
ever
never
seeing
happened.
anything like that from a corporation as large and as prominent as Starbucks. And I did, and then some black folks had a problem with that. The person who led the diversity training, that company wasn't headed by a black. Listen, man, come
Oh,
on, bro.
come on.
But I do, and I understand what you're saying because it's a catch. It's a never-ending circle.
Yes.
It's a never-ending circle. So I think that calls for being reasonable on both sides. though.
Let me tell you, there's another component that plays in here. In like 1974 or something, when I got my master's degree, I had a black professor, and he talked, and I've talked about this before. He says, by the time we get into the 2000s, he said, because this country is going to go to a majority-minority country. He says, you're going to see so much fear coming from the Caucasian community. And what you have here, too, is fear. That's something else, and that's what Donald Trump jumped on, the
I
fear.
so agree with you. on that.
The fear. He jumped on the fear.
I agree
This
with
is
that.
what they are doing to us.
I agree with
They
that.
are doing it, and
agree
even
with
to the
that.
point of separating families.
Yes.
See, there's a desperation and a fear going on right now.
I
And
agree
you
with
see
that.
it every doggone day. How can some black women golfing be told to get off the golf course?
No, I think that is a very
Salient
great comment,
thing.
and it's the root cause of it. I said it. We talked about it right after Donald Trump got elected when we were in, and I was like, I don't understand how rural white America could support a man that's a billionaire that you are never going to be like, nor he can associate with you. But it's from a fear perspective.
But remember
It's from a
the
fear
tune,
perspective.
everybody's looking for a hero?
Yep.
That's part of it. We have been, as black people, in a way, have been wandering in the desert. That's why we have to be our own heroes. We have to do things
That's
like
what
Chris
Chris
does, like you do. We have to galvanize and let people know this is what you're capable of doing. And that's why I had David Nelson on, one of the founding members of the Black Panther, not Panthers, the Last Poets today. And he said, we have more power than we think we do.
Yes.
We gotta
I agree
own
with
stuff
that.
too. When you don't own anything, you don't set culture. You don't set policy.
Right.
Right. So
That's true.
the thing about it is, what black golf courses do we own? Is there do we have enough to actually have a conscious choice where I'm gonna go play golf? I'm gonna go
That's
to
anti-segregation.
the Jenkins golf course or whatever. You know, like you.
And we got to go support these things when we have them.
Yeah.
That's the
And-
thing.
and so there is a balance, but also we have to spread our minds. One of the things that have always been frustrating to me is in the black business community in Detroit, it's almost like everybody have the same three ideas: barbershop, beauty salon, sell clothes, car wash. That's cool, but this is the thing, man. There are millions of things that we need every day. And we are the most creative people that I've ever seen in my life.
Hallelujah.
Right? So when it comes to setting up shop,
Go ahead, Brenda.
why do all the businesses look the same? Why are there like 4 businesses that if you drive down the street and you're talking about minority-owned businesses, they selling clothes, they selling weave, they washing cars, or they doing hair?
Maybe I'm in a different. I can't agree with that.
No,
I'm about to
listen,
say I
I'm
have a
talking
different
about,
sphere.
I'm talking about historically in Detroit, what I've seen when
Listen.
you driving up 7 Mile, what do you see?
So you talk about historically in Detroit. I'm gonna go back to my original point of when we had a black economy, when we had black
Black
banks.
doctors.
We had our own economy. I was talking to a Jewish person in Southfield, and I mean he pointed out something to me that was so stark. He said a dollar comes into our community, and it'll make 8 to 12 transactions before it leaves. When it comes in the black community, it's gone on payday.
They call it liquid. That's what their community calls our money, liquid. But we have to step outside. Like, what? It blow my mind. These folks is selling black people fried chicken. JJ's, Captain J. That ain't us.
I know
That
it's
ain't
not
us.
us. I know.
How do that happen?
Right.
I know.
How do that happen?
Well, I mean,
It's a very, and I've talked about it. It's been such a passion point for me as far as black group
Where are you
economics.
going today?
Today is Friday. Detroit is the new black.
Yes. I like that. I
Reppin'.
was going to ask you, where
This
can
is
I
from
get
Detroit
one?
is the new black. She is a very dope fashion artist.
I want to
she's
have
right
her on my
Woodward.
show. I
Yep,
wanna-
she is amazing. We just gave her 40 under 40, so I'm going there. I'm going to have happy hour drinks at the block. And where else? And then I'm going to go to the griot. So those are my 3 stops for my Black Friday today. But yeah, it's as simple as supporting. The thing is, a lot of businesses, I know people that have started businesses that are in the black community that don't support, and it's outside of what he said, just restaurants. I know web developers, I know designers,
Right.
I know business consultants, I know accountants, but we aren't supporting this because kind of to Chris's statement earlier, what did you say? White is
man's ice is cold.
you assume, and instead of, and I gave the story about when I was at the block where I did not have the best service experience, and instead of just saying, oh, forget this, it's a black business, this is what I'm talking about, I'm not going to come back, I went to them and I said, hey, this is not what good customer service is, and I want
I
to
respect that.
support you.
You got
We're going overtime.
We're
Yeah, we're going overtime. Ladies and
I'm sorry.
gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We never finish. We never finish. Our crusade goes on.
and it shouldn't stop in the community either. Keep this conversation
Keep
going.
it going. And Black Fridays, let's do that.
Black Friday.
I'll see you next week.
Happy Mother's Day.
Black Friday
Happy
to
Mother's
Friday.
Day.
Black Monday, Tuesday,
I'm proud to be a mother. I'm proud. And not a mother something. I'm proud to be a mother.
Happy Mother's Day, Brenda.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.